So what I'd like to do is start our conversation. And remember, Nizar spent 4 years in Iran, Iranian prison cell, and during those years, he's also related to other hostages who were taken by the Iranian revolutionary courts. So I think our conversation will be stimulating and I think to a certain degree personalize what it means to be a hostage in Iran, one of the most inhumane places to live in this world. Nizar, can you tell us exactly what you were doing? I think Ambassador Wallace did talk about it initially, but maybe you can give us more of a description in terms of your relationship with Iran.
I work in the development.
Louder.
I work within technology sector and the development. I use technology for development. And in fact, I was invited by the Vice President of Iran, Mrs. Mollaverdi at the time for Women Affairs, to attend her conference. And you know, as a Lebanese, I didn't even need to get a visa to go to Iran, but I asked her to send me a visa because I don't want to go if I am not welcome. So she sent me a visa. I go to the embassy, I got the visa, I go to Iran, I go to the conference. On my way back, a car stopped, blocked me, get me down, blindfolded me, and threw me in a cell 2x4, and after at least 4 months, I knew where I was. I didn't know if what is the place. I don't know anything about Iran. I don't know what is Evin. I don't know anything. And this is what happened. This is my story. It's like a dream. It's something I know people cannot believe it, but this is exactly what happened.
You know, it's rather interesting to see that one part of the Iranian government really does not know what the other one is doing in many cases. A cultural ministry can write you a letter and invite you to speak at a conference. It could be any conference, and yet the Revolutionary Guards will then abscond you, take you to a jail, and it'll take months before you have a trial. And point of fact, you don't really have a lawyer supporting you. You don't even have any chance to communicate with anyone in your family for a very, very long time. Can you tell us, Nizar, why do you think you were taken? For what reason would the Revolutionary Guards take you?
The Revolutionary Guard knew exactly what they were doing. It was in a period, it was in September 2015. In July, the JCPOA was signed. In January, it was supposed the sanctions to be removed at the UN, at the Security Council. I was in September, in between these two dates. I was working a lot with the private sector, trying to develop the private sector, working with Facebook, with Twitter, with Cisco, Microsoft. Everybody was super excited to go to Iran. It's a big market, a young generation, very well educated, very smart youth. So everybody was super happy to go, and the Revolutionary Guard wanted to send a message at that time that they are okay with the nuclear deal, but they are not okay with anything related to openness. And they wanted to divide these two issues, and they were successful because what they did after that, and this is what was surprising for me at least, being at Evin, that they sent a message that we are not okay with any openness, and no companies went to Iran afterward, no technology company. But they continue, the West proceeded with going with P5+1. We didn't understand why, because it became only purely a nuclear deal, and it had nothing to do anymore with anything related to openness, to human rights, to anything. And they were successful in doing that. Yeah. And after this, other people start coming, Siamak Namazi, Bakr Namazi, Nazanin, everybody. It became a business. The business is back in business, to taking more people and making more people putting more people in jail. We were just a product, a pure product. We were put on the shelf. Jason Rezaian, the day he was He went out, they put me in his place, exactly in the same bed. Exactly in the same. We were like product being put on the shelf. The first product is sold, this is a new product. And it's gonna stay. It has been for 40 years, and it's going to, unless there is a change in strategy, they're gonna keep on doing the same thing. They're not gonna change. And obviously we're doing something wrong. It has been for 40 years, and they have been doing the same thing, and the same vicious circle keep on going, and they're being successful. And what have we changed? We did not change anything. Now we have Wang, Zio Wang, who has been for almost 3 years now. He's going to be changed, you know. And now Mr. Zarif is proposing to exchange him. He's going to be exchanged, and he should be exchanged because he cannot handle it anymore in prison. He has been for a long time, and he's suffering a lot. But then what we're going to do in the future is going to stay the same. It has to be a unified, a global approach toward hostage taking. You cannot have the Britain negotiating to negotiate on their own, the French on their own, everybody going backdoor to negotiate for their hostages. It has to be one unified position by the UN. We are members. Iran is a member of the UN. We are all members in the UN. Why the UN is not doing anything toward hostages? We have to send Iran out if they keep on taking hostages. We are innocent people. We haven't done anything. We were taken hostage, and after 4 years, they let us go, you know, for whatever reason. Thank you.
You know, in point of fact, the Supreme Leader, Khamenei, and the Revolutionary Guards made it really very, very explicit. Nothing would change internally while the JCPOA was in effect. That is, we'll carry out the JCPOA, but there will be no change in human rights, no change in the political system. We will, in fact, be even harder on people than ever before, because we are afraid that there's some sort of evil will occur and people will find a voice. So during that period, the strictures on people and dual citizens, explicitly dual citizens, was intolerable. And whatever Nizar is talking about was in place hard and fast during that period. You spent time in Evin prison. I did too. Evin prison is the most notorious prison in all of Iran. Most political prisoners and dual citizens are there. And can you tell me who you were with during that time? Because I think this shows the variety of people, not just Americans, but also even Iranian political prisoners too.
At the beginning, I was alone for the first 14 months, something like that. I had like only 1 month with an Azerbaijan person, Saidov, and then I was alone blindfolded for almost 14 months. After that, I was moved. I spent some time with the son of Rafsanjani, Mehdi Rafsanjani. I spent some time with Mashai, the deputy of Ahmadinejad, and and then I was moved to a section which is a public section for political prisoners out of Du Alef. Du Alef is the Revolutionary Guard section. I was moved to another section. Over there, I had interaction with Wang, Zio Wang, the American, and we had British people, Austrian, dual nationals. Most of the people were dual nationals, and a lot of people who came back to see their families, their sick father, their sick mother. They just came to Iran and they were taken hostage. You know, this is They do it as a practice. Even people, we know people that they go to the embassy and they tell them, they ask the embassy, we want to go to Iran, do we have anything? They tell them, no, perfect, go. They take note to take them when they arrive, so they get ready, and this is what they do.
I think when you were in captivity, you were with Xia Wang. I don't know if everybody knows who he is. He is a Princeton graduate student working on his doctorate on Qajar, Iran. Remember when the Qajars ruled Iran, 1790s to 1925. But he was arrested for using documents which he was permitted to use, and the Qajars there's no relevance to this regime. They've been gone for 100 and some odd years. And yet, there he is in captivity, and he's been in captivity since 2018, suffering badly during that captivity. Were you able to speak to Shiwa?
Yeah, we stayed 2 years, me and Zio Wang. We call him Zio. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Zio Wang, next to, like we were in one room, 24 people. It's 5 by 5, triple decker. We sit and we eat, we do everything in this space. So there is nothing. So for me and Wang, we're like more than family, because you don't spend so much time with your family. Like 24 hours a day in one room, and we are like 1 meter away from each other the whole time. It was, and currently Zio is really in a bad shape and need to come back, need to be released. We need to support him. We cannot keep on no negotiation or what is. He made a mileage of 3 years. 3 years, the administration should have done something to get him out. Okay, he's not out now. We have to do something to get him. And now, for the future, we can do a change of strategy, change of policy. But now there is some people, they are over there and they need to get out, and we need to get them out as soon as possible.
Yeah. I don't know how this plays to all of you, but there is a sense amongst the hostage families that are living within the States. There are 4 hostage families, and also Robert Levinson's family. Mr. Levinson has been missing since 2007. He was at Quiche Island, and there's not much information about him now. But I do think that the administration needs to be doing more about the hostages that are remaining in Iran. Hostages have been released around the world, and the administration has taken credit for that. But I don't see, or we don't see, much happening vis-a-vis Iran. There are other people that have been held, Siamak Namazi and his father, Bakir Namazi, who was 83 years old. He went to see his son, and then he was arrested. And he's been arrested since 2016. That's 3 years. And there's somebody, I don't know if anybody knows about Robert White. Robert White has been he was a former veteran. He went to visit Iran in 2018, and he's come down with a carcinoma, and the diagnosis is not very good, and this man needs to get out of Iran immediately. To get back to Nizar, Nizar, you were brought up to a revolutionary court, and perhaps you can talk about the justice system in Iran.
I am sure everybody here knows a lot about it. They know who the Judge Salawati is. I believe I cannot say much, but except that there is no court, there is nothing. I went to Judge Salawati. He told me I did the revolution in the Ukraine. I told him, please look at the files. I am sure you're looking at somebody else's file. You know, I have never been to the Ukraine. You know, but the person, he knows. They want us to feel that we have no power, we're powerless, we have nothing. He's accusing me with something that it's impossible. You know, he could have accused me with something else, you know, that make maybe 1 per 1,000 truth, but he just felt like saying something so inaccurate. He's happy, he wants to show that. So the lawyer, you cannot appoint a lawyer. They will tell you have to choose from a list of lawyers, and then even if you choose from the list of lawyers, also they can approve the lawyer, they can disapprove, they can cancel the lawyer. So there is no code, there is nothing. It's the Kashinaz, it's what the interrogator, he's the one who controls your life. You are just controlled by a Kashinaz. This is what we went through. And we developed a bond, and this is important. I want a lot to talk about who is left behind, and this is very important because Siamak Namazi was next cell to me, and I never was able to see him. But the guard doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Farsi, so he used to take whatever I say, he go to Siamak translate, bring it to me, so we had this connection, we understood each other. Bakr, I used to send him whatever I have medicine, he used to send me whatever he has medicine. These people are extremely nice. The Iranians have been extremely nice to us because they are the best host in the world. They have the best culture, and then these revolutionary guards are turning this country into a terrorist place only for terrorists. And really, we have to all put our hand together. Today, we are bringing. When I went out, I was able to give some positive energy to the family of the hostages, and we created something called the Hostage Alliance. It's a family of all the hostages who are in Iran from different countries, not American, British, Austrian. We are all bringing together because we should be all together in one, facing this terrorist regime, in order to stop it from doing this again and again and again.
If you'd like, and I think we would like doing it too, is to receive questions from the audience, so that we will have a not now, written down questions, and then we'll be able to then respond to them. Okay? Nizar, perhaps you can tell me what was your day like? I mean, I could tell the audience what my day was like. I spent every day in Evin marching around the room in an 8, measured it out so that I knew how many feet it was, and would go through the morning doing that, a few miles, stop, wait for a delicious lunch, and then, which was usually bread and some soup, and then go back and do that again. So all day long, it was this marching around a cell which had no light in it at all. It was totally darkened. But I think maybe yours might have been more exciting.
At the beginning, what you're saying, the 8, is definitely what we do. We take the diagonal of the room, because 2x4, the diagonal is a little longer, so we do that. That's exactly what we do. at the beginning, we had interrogation, and you go to the interrogation, you make you lose. How are you? It makes you lose that you're a human being. When they get you into interrogations, if they don't feed you all day, and they put a pistachio on the table, and they say if you answer correctly, you eat the pistachio. And it's exactly I felt like when I train my dog. When I do something good, I eat the pistachio. These people have no heart. They have nothing. They're just evil. It's just evil. That's why I rather not go into the detail of our daily life, because all what they want to humiliate us. They want us to forget that we are human, and this is not what we are. We are.
Nizar, could you tell me whether you think there were some possible moments or signals that your release might have something to do with the political situation in Iran, and also the sanctions itself?
Yeah, it's first you understand why when someone is killed by Daesh, by ISIS, he is so calm. He doesn't react. It's obvious we understood that because they do every day the same exercise with him. They send him out. They act like they want to kill him. Then they turn him back. So the day he wants to be, thank you so much. The day he's killed, he doesn't know that he's being executed. And this is exactly what happened to us. Every day, every couple of days, they tell us we're going to release you. So you feel good, and then you go, you feel, and then they bring you back, and you feel so bad, 100 times worse. And this is what they do. So the day, when they told me I'm going to be out, I never knew. I said, it's another game they're going to play against me. And they always tell me, make a video, admit that you are the spy of the world, and then we will let you out. I never accepted to make a video. And because I asked around, they told me if you make a video or you don't make a video, it's not related if you're getting out or you're not getting out. They're two different things. They're not related to each other. So this is what they did to us. And I didn't feel. But some people, 2 days before, some people were talking to their family outside, and they said that they were, one of the agency is called IRLA or something. It's one of the news agents, labor news agency of Iran. And they mentioned that I might be released, I might be sent to Lebanon. And this is where I felt that it's a little more serious than the usual.
Do you think that was a signal, or a possible attempted signal by Iran to the United States? And remember, that was, you were released in June of this year, and it was approximately right before the tanker experience.
Yeah, what happened is a couple of months before, in April, Mr. Zarif said that they are ready to exchange, and the Americans said no, start by releasing the hostages in order to negotiate. So I believe it was an easy exit strategy for the Iranian regime to release me, because I am Lebanese. I'm not American. They have a face-saving approach. I am a legal permanent resident. So they coordinated with Lebanon to release me, and it was a good gesture. And then a month afterward, Mr. Zarif, in an interview, he said that they did a good gesture to the U.S., but the U.S. did not reciprocate the effort or whatever. So I believe it's something about the politics, but at the end of the day, we were hostage. Releasing a hostage is not something they should do it anyway. It's not like something they're doing you a favor by releasing an innocent person from being tortured.
You know, it's really interesting for all of us who experienced this misery and try to get a handle on why you know, you spend years of your life in captivity, solitary confinement. And, you know, I don't, after all these years in trying to do research on all of this, I could never really find a cause and effect in many ways. In many ways, it's just not, it's not palpable to see a cause and effect. We think we know that. We think sometimes, the Revolutionary Guards are angry at the president of Iran. So, okay, they'll take a prisoner and they'll make it miserable for him. But some other times, it doesn't happen that way. So we really don't know what's going on. I think in many cases you have issues amongst themselves. They're arguing all the time amongst themselves. So the only answer for them is to take a hostage, and then we'll resolve it, have the other country resolve it. But there's no rhyme or reason in many ways for it all. And to even answer this question about Zarif, you know, Zarif is an actor. He is a good showman. Comes across as, here I am, a well-educated, American-educated individual. But he's just as bad as all the rest. You know, he likes to say, oh, you know, maybe we can make a deal. Maybe we could throw this, maybe we could do that. Is that what we should hold our, you know, our hearts to something like that? Oh, maybe Shiwa will get out. Maybe maybe it's a signal. Maybe it isn't a signal. And his wife has to live on that. He has a child, this student, he hasn't seen, the child is 6 years old. He hasn't seen the boy for 3 years. The boy doesn't even know who his father is. And this regime keeps on going, and the foreign minister acts as if he's humane. I think you mentioned to me that there were discussions, I think political discussions in prison about how you felt about the past administration and this administration, or how people were talking about what the last administration did vis-a-vis this administration.
No, mainly, in fact, there is a momentum in every prison. If it's a criteria to take in the political section, whenever they talk about Trump, everybody claps. You know, everybody. So it's funny because we walk, we say Trump. We get them a little. Yeah, it's nice because we feel that. We feel like there is a strong person behind you trying to support, trying to get something done. And, you know, hostages, when you want to release hostages, you have to go, the first option is military. It's not diplomatic, the first option to release hostage. And this is according, it's not what I am saying, is the hostage office, a State Department is saying. And the Eagle, the head of the Eagle is not directed towards the olive tree, the olive branch, is directed to the opposite side because the first option is military, not peace. And this is why we expect the government to do what they say they're doing, really to act. When we were at Evin, we were always hoping that one day the Marines will come or a big earthquake will happen, even if we're going to be damaged, but at least an earthquake will get us out or something, because we every night we go to sleep, we were hoping that we will not wake up the next morning. We wanted, we really wished that we will not wake up the next morning, because it was just pain and pain and pain and suffering every day.
You know, it's interesting. You had the earthquake urge, and mine was in September 20th, 1981. There was an attack by the Iraqi Air Force in Tehran. So I thought, oh my God, yeah, the U.S. Air Force is coming for us. That, to me, was like the greatest day in the world. But of course it wasn't. But certainly, we all were just hoping to get out every day, day in and day out. We would count the days. And then when I'd wake up in the morning, I found out that I was in exactly the same place I was the day before. It's like the movie Groundhog Day. That's exactly what it was. My life didn't change, nor did yours.
It was, I remember this movie about you get stuck at the airport.
Yes.
It was something like that. I remember this movie.
We talked about a solution. Is there a solution that you think that might be viable, a viable solution?
The world has they have to work together. You cannot keep on having each country opening on its own this negotiating game and hostage game. The Iranians, the Revolutionary Guard, are smarter than these governments. And they're playing these governments, and they're playing them very good. They know how to play each one. Today, we will release someone for England, the other for UK, the other way we do is the Australian. They know, they're playing us. And we are just, because everybody thinks that he has his backdoor channel, he can do some negotiation. We are not doing any negotiation. It's the Iranians, the Revolutionary Guard is deciding who is going to give to who is going to release to who. It's not, we are not the players, they are the players. We are just on the other side, on the receiving end. And this is why all these countries have to stand together and have one unified position toward hostage taking, and request from the UN to take Secretary General Guterres to really act responsibly toward hostages. Why do we have the UN Human Rights Council if we get a resolution from the UN Human Rights Council that we are arbitrarily detained and they don't do anything about it? What is this? Why are we doing it?
But I don't have as much faith in the UN. I really think if there's a real coalition, there needs to be a coalition among the willing.
Barry, one of the things that really meant a lot to our heart is when we saw Mogherini taking selfies in the parliament, in the Iranian parliament, and we were hostages. Mm-hmm. We were European people hostages, and she was taking selfies in the parliament. Mm-hmm. And remember this,
yes.
This government has Ibtikar. Masuma Ibtikar. She's
yes.
the one who she was the spokeswoman when you were hostage. How can she
still, be? This woman, Masuma Ibtikar, is in business since 1979. She's been a vice president of all the presidents. I think she's a kind of a gift from the Iranian government, because she took Americans hostage in 1979. But she's still there all the time, and that's a signal to all of us that there's Masuma Ibtikar.
She's the vice president. She's currently the vice president for Women Affairs.
Yeah. And what's interesting is her son goes to school, a grandson, I think. It's a son goes to a college on the West Coast. I mean, this is a crazy thing that goes on in this country, that somehow her son can go to school here with no effect, whatsoever. I would love to see televisions all over his house, screaming at him daily on a day-by-day basis, make him feel at home. But I honestly feel that there needs to be more or less a coalition of the willing, that is, nation by nation, being involved in stopping their citizens from proceeding toward Iran for any business deal, anything whatsoever. Just stop travel. And especially, Iranians should not, dual citizens should not go to Iran. I mean, I would like to see the State Department stop that. Stop that. I know it could be problematic for a family, for a sick relative, and all of those things. But the misery is worse. The misery of getting captured in Iran is worse than anything else. They should be blocked from going to Iran. It's just an impossible situation. I got a question here from the audience, and it was, would you back a congressional push to impose criminal and civil penalties on Iranian officials responsible for hostage taking?
It's definitely,
Yes,
it is being done.
I think it's already part of the sanctions.
Yeah.
I mean, the Revolutionary Guards are already sanctioned.
There is a new resolution that is being passed in Congress that is about against involved in hostage taking, politicians who are involved in hostage taking or facilitating hostage taking. But about Zarif, about the current government, every time you talk to an official, they tell you that Zarif has no power, he cannot do anything. You know, he can do something, he can resign. If he wants that, he can resign. Because it's really when an official say, oh, but he has no power, he cannot do anything about it, so why he's in his position? He's giving them cover.
Well, I mean, within that regime, he can resign, but he really doesn't have any power. I mean, I think he only has a power, whatever power that Khamenei gives him, and that's it. But other than that, he has no power. I think I got some response from an organization called the Arab Struggle Movement for the liberation of Ahvaz. Ahvaz.
Ahwaz.
Yeah. And the question was, what is your knowledge of Arab Ahwazian prisoners in Iran, and what the world can do to help them?
In Evin, in the political section currently, we have three kind of people as the most. We have the Ahwazis, we have the Kurds, and we have people we have people from the foreign ministry. We have a lot of people from the Iranian foreign ministry. This is the three groups that they fill up the section 12 in like salon that was there under Gahaft. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, there's another question about the Azerbaijan Central Party. Can you please talk to us about the hundreds of South Azerbaijani political prisoners like Abbas Lissani, Kazem Safabakhsh, who received 10 to 15 years of jail time? I don't know about that individual. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? Perhaps you can raise your hand and ask a question, so we don't have to use a piece of paper. Okay.
My name is
Louder.
My name is Saleh Kamrani. reason it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I complete 100% of what you said, except the situation is the same. I was captured in Tehran, despite of I was a leader. You talked about Salavati, Judge Salavati. There is no judge in Iran, no no justice system in Iran, really. I say that as a lawyer. Now, there is a lot of Azerbaijanian, despite maybe in Middle East, especially Iran, the only movement, civil movement, you can find it is South Azerbaijani democratic movement.
Mhm.
But every day we have at least two and five prison. We have a lawyer in jail.
Okay,
He's in
okay.
prison more than 8 years. Latif Hassani. Why? Because we are just Azerbaijani. Because we are just Azerbaijani Turks. But international community, they don't listen for us. Why? Because we don't have weapons. We don't prefer weapons.
Right,
We need to be here.
right. Yes.
Yes, close, very close to his story. I remember I was only 16 years old. My father, who was
You
yes,
can stand up.
Yes, my father, Muhammad Ali Sawari, he was an English teacher in Ahwaz, south of Iran. He was practicing his right to teach. That's the only thing he put his life for, and he created an NGO for free education, and he was going out for the in remote areas, for villages. Muhammad Ali Sawari arrested, his organization closed, shut down. Many teachers around him got arrested as well. After 2 years, we had no idea where he was. We just surprised. They called us, they called my family. Myself, I was only 16 years old. I was wanted as well, so I just ran away. They called my family, they told him, come and say the last bye to Mr. Muhammad Ali Sawari is Mu'arib, is against God in the earth, is a God against the Walayat al-Faqih. That's what he committed just because he didn't follow the principles of Iran. We surprised in the same night when my family going, I don't want to make it a long story. They went to say the last bye, they said no. We had an order from Khamenei, he just got forgive. Go back next week, come and see him. And the next week my family went and they were happy to see Muhammad Ali Sawari eventually has a life, has a choice or a chance to live for his long life in the jail. But we surprised, they told us Muhammad Ali Sawari and his brother Jafar Sawari, they were executed, and their body, we know where it is. Just sign this paper, say yes, you receive the paper, you receive the body, and you are not allowed to report that to any media. Today, I'm here in the United States, in New York. I'm calling the regime. I'm saying, I'm Jassim Sawari, who is paid by the jail.
Okay, okay.
5 years I kept myself, 5 years kept myself in a small room to not get jailed, to not let the harm continue, to get all of my father friends to get arrested. I'm here today to say to the world and the regime, this silence, and this silence, I'm meaning the silence about the Ahwazi case should end. We are the Ahwazi. I see all these cameras, but I'm sure these all cameras owners had no authorization from somewhere to not speak about our case.
Yeah.
This is what the regime wants. Please listen our voices. We are the people. This morning, someone was here saying and having a flag saying they want a peace for Iran. The peace, we are looking for peace. I stood 5 years in a small room to have a chance to continue my education, to be free, to feel safe. But when I eventually find my father has no chance to go back, today my family, they are refugees somewhere, waiting their way to here. They are afraid. I know where are they. seeking the help to them, but my case is not personal. I don't want to say I'm seeking help for my family, but my case is one of the towns. There are many,
You want to
many,
close.
they are everywhere.
I
I
want-
need,
Okay,
yes.
okay, can you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanna
No,
continue.
I am fully with you, and the worst things that we can do, the worst things that happen to hostages is when they tell you it's better not to speak and to stay quiet and not to talk about them, and this is better for the hostage. This is not true. This is just they're playing us, they're letting us to stay quiet, not to name and shame the countries that's taking hostages, not to put them in trouble, and the governments as well. The diplomats want to relax. They don't want a lot of pressure. So who is suffering is the citizens, the global citizens. We are suffering because both sides are letting us to stay quiet towards the hostages. And I hope that we will never stay quiet anymore. We speak out and we make sure everybody is home. And I am happy that Mr. Duke is here, so he will have the next section.
Okay, the last question.
Thank you very much. Speaking of South Azerbaijanis, thank you very much for commenting to my friend's information he just gave. When you are talking about Iran, majority of the Iranian population made out of non-Persian people.
Yes.
That means at the top,
Yes.
South Azerbaijanis, Ahwaz Arabis, Baluchis, Kurds, Turkmens. Sir, today, Iran's biggest worry is not outside. Iran is sitting on time bomb. That bomb made out of non-Persian nationalities in Iran. South Azerbaijanis is the biggest force, hundreds of right now, political prisoners we have, Mr. Abbas Lassani, Safabash, many other females that they are supporting South Azerbaijanis' right, basic human rights.
Okay, all right. I think, you know, one of the things I think this session brought out is the amount of pain that many of us have gone through, those people who had lived in Iran, those people who thought of Iran as a second home. This is a problem that is ongoing and I hope can possibly be resolved, but I'm very skeptical about it. But I want to thank all of you for being part of this session, and thank you very much.
Thank you.